everyone. I am over on Savory Island and coming to you live from Savory Island at a friend's cabin. We're actually working at two different cabins while we're here working on decks. And it reminds me why I'm not on the tools anymore. And today I have a special guest. I have Roman, who's a good friend. And we met when Roman started painting with Powell Painting. How many years ago was that now, Roman? Say hello. Let everyone know where you are.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Super excited to be here. Yeah, it's been, 6 years, I want to say?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like a long, seems like forever.
Right? I know. In 6 years, you can have many lifetimes. That's what I feel like. Absolutely. And chatting just before the show, well, Roman, let's finish this thought first. Roman does things in a really specific way for painting. He's integrated doing murals and art into a room to create a unique frequency in the room, I would say. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Unique frequency that is tied, that connects the frequency, that connects the built environment with the people that live there. So it's sort of like something that bridges, the animate with inanimate. So that's.
But really, everything's animate.
Well, I mean, here we can start a very interesting conversation. That would be a good topic. I would, bring some perspective on that.
Yeah, because everything's vibrating. It's just some things vibrate at a rate that we can't see with these eyes.
Yeah, but soul and spirit is not in everything. And human consciousness, maybe let's put it this way, human consciousness, bridging human consciousness with another expression of consciousness, thereby extending and expanding human consciousness into its environment. Like let's make it more technical.
There we go. Beautiful. Well said. Yeah. And as Roman and I have continued to connect, he's gone on and done his own business full-time for quite a few years now, but we've stayed in touch and checked in and what's going on with you and what's going on with me. And we've both been on this, I like to say, expansion process versus a lot of people call it ascension. And I'm like, well, sure, you can call it that. You can call it whatever you want. I call it expansion because it's just consciousness expanding and with new perspectives. And as you learn something new and integrate it, it can expand your consciousness further. Yeah, absolutely. And Roman was asking me, so I don't think I ever heard your story, Tanja.
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah. So in Powell Painting, there was a point where I was doing everything myself, still on the tools, still doing all the invoicing, still booking all the jobs, dealing with all the staff, running all the jobs, and trying to do it all. And very masculine driven, like I can do this. And then at some point, it's like, okay, I can't do it the way I'm doing it anymore. It's not working. And so I ended up, somebody had reached out to me on LinkedIn and I really resonated with him. And he's a master coach for Leap Zone strategies. And I worked with Isabel and Luciano and Margarita and the horses. And they do this beautiful process of, getting you built properly, not unlike a house, like with the foundation and getting everything staged and the walls have to be strong. And so we really dug into what were my values. And I was like this, I intuitively knew all of it. It just had never been extracted from me in that way. And so that was really a beautiful experience. And I got to work with Luciano as a master coach. And I just kept saying, I'm just so busy. And he's like, by saying that, you're just telling your brain what you want. You're a very powerful manifester, Tanja. And it was like a light bulb moment for me, the way he said it, the way I heard it, more importantly. And I went, I'm the common denominator. I need to retrain my brain was my first, gotta go. I gotta figure this out because if I'm in my own way, only I can change it. And so as soon as we got off that coaching call, I was online looking for how to retrain my brain. And I came across Marissa Peers. And of Marissa Peers, and she's in that personal development realm. Well, she was with, I took it through Mind Valley. And then I got into the Mind Valley, and it was like a really, really fantastic company for those stepping into that world, so to speak, because it's not too woo-woo, right? And it's quite a nice bridge between the two. And so I spent several years with Mind Valley, ended up being a master's certified trainer with them and working with them and hosting seminars in Vancouver. And what I realized was, everybody just wants connection. They don't care about the seminar content. They just want to meet like-minded people. And that's how Adventures for Connection came about. And I spent, I think I did for about a year and a half with Mind Valley. And then they started to tell us, you must speak this way at the seminar. You must do it this way. You must do it. I get it. They wanted brand consistency, but I was taking everyone and putting them in a circle and creating connection while we were there and discussing the topics. So, and for me, that's how I love to learn. I don't want to sit in a seminar and look up on a stage and listen to somebody tell me how it is. Yeah. So that was the beginning of Adventures for Connection. And I didn't stop learning. I didn't go to more Mind Valley events because I went to a big event and it was like somebody had pulled back the curtain a little bit. And I was like, oh, I get it now. And so it's a lot of beautiful speakers that have wonderful tribes, and it's a great tribe. I just realized I needed to know more. I wasn't stopping there, and that I wanted more information. And so I think once you start on this path, you're either a lifelong learner or you stop somewhere and you think you've got it figured out, and that's fact. Whereas I'm like, I don't think I'll ever have it figured out. I just want to play the whole time. And so that for me has been the never-ending quest and connecting with like-minded people like Norma. Jade, my daughter, has been along for the ride the entire time and is a very wise, wise soul. She's got diamond codes in her. So as we expand further, I'm looking forward to, as these energies shift, I trust that there's a beautiful opening that's coming for many of us that are ready for it. And not to say we're any better or any different, but we can see differently. And when you can see through things differently, then you're willing to believe to receive. That's kind of where it's at. It's like, okay, so what do we really want out of this game? What do we want to play? How do we want to show up? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I love doing these lives and connecting with like-minded people and being that connector. I love having events where we really get to connect with people. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hey, Gary, how are you? So this is beautiful. He's a beautiful soul who knows me quite well as a soul. And yeah, you were never meant to be indoctrinated, of course, right? I was always the black sheep, to my own detriment sometimes, because black sheep don't fit in. So what do? They frickin' rebel like there's nobody's tomorrow. So I've pretty much traveled every path in life in that aspect, and yeah, mostly beating myself up, but yeah, here I am today, the stronger for it, the wiser for it, and very grateful for it all. Yeah. How about you, Roman?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, amazing story. Thanks for sharing it again for you for nth time, but for me, it was first time hearing it. It was very interesting. You kind of like, there's so many things that resonated. I mean, there's so many things that kind of were running through my head as you were speaking. For me, my story essentially, I mean, like dating back, so like being a black sheep in a way, like that's my story too. I've always kind of wanted to. Felt like there was something wrong with me, like there was like I was broken and flawed and whatever, and that was my kind of like solution to that is like I wanted to, well, I was trying to fit in, but like to myself I was saying I want to find a way to change me. I want to be someone else, not me. I hate being me. And so like I'm just like, and I'm a driven individual. If anybody is familiar with Enneagram, I'm an achiever, a type 3, so which is kind of always driven, always like on the go, always like never stops. Just, the wheels are always spinning, and I want to achieve. So anyway, so I was looking for ways to achieve, and in this regard for like very long time. mostly through kind of becoming someone, making something out of myself in the world, being like earning a degree, like getting a job that everybody would approve of, kind of, following this path, right? Like getting a business degree and then kind of, seeing myself like climbing the corporate ladder or whatever. And then at some point, that kind of like stopped making sense. The control of, that, just like you touched on, with Mind Valley, like what kind of stood out to me is basically they're sort of trying to control, like it makes sense, branding and all that, right? But so like, you do things a certain way. And there is, there's reason and rhyme behind it and whatever, but ultimately, right? So it's about free expression, like of who we are, and everyone is unique, and everyone has, brings something beautiful and positive and great to this world. And if it's like pigeonholed, it's not it, So yeah, basically I decided to one day I kind of like woke up and I can't work this office job anymore. Like it's just not like I'm not creativity is just like not part of it at all.
Yeah.
And I was successful. Like I really pushed myself hard, and I became from somebody who like is like losing, like turning gray, like not understanding what's going on, no clue, and just kind of like basically like sinking, to being able to fully swim. And like, so that people who would just a lot of people were coming to me for solutions for how to figure this out, kind of like I turned things around in like a year and a half of my second office job. But anyways, there's no kind of like me in it. It was just like somebody, like I didn't realize what I was doing, like a performing, like performing back then, like just this role.
Yes. Being an actor.
Like life is a stage, like, and like you have to be a certain way, you have to please and impress, which is like what achievers drive is really, right? And it's sort of like anyways, and I realized that like creativity is like something that is part of me, and then it was asking for an outlet. It was just like and so I quit basically then opportunity came. I made a very bold leap, and I lived in Toronto. I was living in Toronto back then, with my future wife. And then I'm like, one day, I gotta quit this. We gotta go to Vancouver. We gotta basically like move, like, leave the East Coast, go to West Coast, new world, new everything. No one here except for her parents. So like we visited, like they invited us over just to visit, to get to know me. And so and I loved it here. I'm like, you know what? Let's just move to Vancouver. And and it was like a fight because she didn't want to. She's a city girl, she's like, nature is not her thing. And she loved Toronto, still does, still talks about like how much she left behind. But we really like enjoying our life. Like right now, it's just amazing. It's like it's just beautiful. So it's just a joke I'm saying, but anyway, so I came here, and this is when I started. Like, so as a student for 2 years, I ran a painting franchise. So I learned how to basically run a painting business and to, some basic skills of painting. And so this is when like, how am I going to make money? Like I quit my office job. I'm not going to come here to apply for Lululemon, like I'm just going to start afresh. So I started painting, and basically a year forward, that I met you and you hired me. It was like so amazing to have met you. That time you were really supportive of me as a as a painting like an employee, a contractor, and like all that stuff. I learned a ton. It was like a really cool experience. But anyways, my real story awakening started just before COVID. It's 2020, the December 2019 is when I had my awakening moment. And basically since then, I was on this, my full-time job became basically exploring my consciousness, my inner self, my true self, my conscious self, and other parts of the self. And basically, healing. For a long time, it's like, it's about healing what's been. And now I'm shifting gears into healing what's not been yet. So So this is, I'm at a cusp of basically, like dark shadow, light shadow, right?
Yeah.
So the dark shadow is like all the stuff that, in our subconscious that we kind of, accumulated. And there's from unconscious, from other lifetimes and whatever, but mostly from our life, right? So all of the things that we had to, the lessons that we needed to go through to experience, certain things, so that we can overcome them and we can learn from them and move past them. And so, but there comes a point where it's like, okay, like it's not about the past anymore, it's about looking forward, and it's about creating a future that is the one you want. Ultimately, success, happiness, and all that stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. So I always call it the inner or in you universe, right? And so one of the things Norma's been studying recently is how the organs all relate to the planet, and each planet has its own consciousness. And that as we come into this realm, we're going through these and we're collecting, depending on when we come in, dictates, creates that energy within each. So it's quite fascinating. So she's like a deep dive learner. I'm like, okay, say it again in another way. And then eventually, okay, now I get what you're saying, and I can reiterate some of it. But it's, and I have another friend who had a Kundalini awakening, spontaneous, in a yoga class, got kicked out of the class and blew herself wide open, exploring everything, right? Because that's part of it. So you go through this, and now she's trying to come back in her body, and literally blew her body apart a bit. So she's been, piecing that back together and coming back.
Integrating it all, kind of bringing it together. Yeah.
Right? Because she was asked, she chose love. And when you chose love, what's the opposite of love? And how can you know true love unless you explore everything that is not love? So yeah, she taught me a lot, because she would come to me as a sounding board, a grounder, because I'm super grounded and I can hold this information. And I would just listen to her because she needed to express. And then as I've been expanding, I have this catalog of info, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know about this. Oh yeah, I know about that too. And so it was synchronistic for me to be able to pick all that information up from her. So yes. And thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. And I realized too, like even being here, how blessed I am through Powell Painting to have been able to not just explore consciousness and myself, and to share it with others, and to allow people to just have another perspective on even the world. Because all through COVID, I kept saying, we're having a breakdown for a breakthrough. Like this is the time for change. And that, even though the world may seem chaotic right now, chaos is energy. And so if we can harness that energy and utilize that energy, we can use it to catapult even higher into the light, or more into the light, so to speak. So if all the collective shadows are now coming out and being put in the spotlight, it's freaking a lot of people out, and I'm cheering it on. I'm like, go, because I can see the other side of it. I can see how harmonious and beautiful and loving it can be to be in harmony with nature at all times. And so this is one of the gifts of being here. This reminds me, the ocean. Oh, the ocean has been such a blessing here, because the tide is really shallow in this bay. So when the tide goes all the way out, you can walk out for like a mile. And the things you find, it's like, oh, this is the mussel layer, and they all spit at you, right? And so you're going through this landmine of mussels, and then you come into the sand dollars, and when they're black, they're alive, and you're like, light as a feather, don't walk on the sand dollars. And so then you find different shells, and you find different starfish. And so it's just this beautiful exploration that one would never get normally being at the ocean's edge anywhere else. So yeah, it's a really magical spot. And you with a little one now, yes, he would really love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's basically like the seafloor was exposed, and it's just like so much life there.
Yeah.
There's so much life like that you're seeing, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And
It's
there's an
alive.
eagle up in the tree, right? And there's like all kinds of driftwood. We're bringing home a whale. I'll have to show it next week, but there's a piece of driftwood. It's not very big, but there's a total whale's mouth and an eye on it smiling at us. And I was like, we're going to take him home.
Nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so this Desolation Sound area was one of the most unexplored areas. That this was definitely a place that people come. And this is a painting client. This is a client I met 10 years ago when a friend brought me here. And then I've just been working for that family, whether it's in Kerrisdale, Whistler, or here. They don't call anyone else. And I get to, it's kind of like a vacation that's kind of paid for, right?
Well, this isn't a good example of what life can be. Like life doesn't have to be difficult or struggle or whatever, right? It's just like it can't just be beautiful and then be something like this where you're like, is it real? Like I'm working, I'm making money, but I'm also enjoying myself, and it's like the people I do work for are happy. I'm happy. Like it's like that's where we like ultimately where everything is headed. So
absolutely,
it's a good example.
Absolutely. I can say though, because of my drive, we've pushed through some really long, hard days. I even had Jade even volunteered to help us.
Right.
Which was great.
It still work.
Right? It still work. Yeah. I can feel it like in my neck.
Yeah.
I'm like,
blisters yet? Like how are your
no blisters.
Okay, good. That's good.
I don't hang on too tight. Because of the products we've been using, it hasn't been that bad. But I had to scrape sand and oil prime a floor this morning, and I was like, I don't miss oil primer. Yeah. So what do you envision for your life, and what sparked? So go back and tell us what sparked, besides COVID, right, to realize more? Because I know you were doing transcendental meditation before that. Are you still doing that?
I touched on it. Like, so it's like I wanted to change. So basically I was driven to find a way to be someone other than me, right? A mistaken thing. And so what I mean, I've come to realize now that basically it's, it's just finding a way to be your true self, like as opposed. But I started, so I was just so stressed, overworked. I was lost. There's so much shame and all kinds of like other things and fears in me, from being an immigrant, part of it, and trying to find my way, sort of like family, how like everyone's families has their own story, and ours certainly had a story, wasn't so that part, like my relationship with my dad, and like and I mean, there's so many different things I wanted to change. And basically a transcendental meditation was one of my, it's kind of like a foot in the door. So when I started meditating, I learned TM when I came to Vancouver. I basically, one of the first things I did, I was like, thanks to David Lynch, whoever know, like if someone knows David Lynch. So he's like huge, he's a film director, he's an artist. And he is a big proponent of TM, and thanks to him, I learned about it. But I learned about it as a way to cope with stress and release stress. And essentially, it's like a self-management. Basically, how do you basically center, ground, and just be more healthy, more like like not like going insane inside your head, right? So for me, it didn't hit until like I had that awakening that what it actually was, that it was a spiritual practice, and what what it's about, and it opened the door. And by the way, you gotta it's just, I can talk forever, I can get lost in like my things. So if you want to just be like,
you're good. I asked you a question, you're answering.
Yeah. So just saying for the future too, because I can talk. No, so TM basically was that for me, and it was amazing, effective, and I loved it. It was just great, and it prepared me for that moment too. Like it gave me that, a lot of shifts happened. My life got much better over the, I had meditated like for 5 years. I was doing TM for 5 years. Had been doing TM for 5 years before that moment, and so, but I had an awakening, and then I went deep exploring TM first for about 2 years. Like I really went to like the Vedas and like all kinds of basically the ancient wisdom from from that part of the world. But then it shifted for me. I found another avenue that is added layers of understanding and of empowerment and all kinds of other things. And so now I forgot what you asked me.
Well, we were talking, I said transcendental got you sort of started, right?
Yeah, and exactly. It was a foot in the door, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was basically a tool. And as you're saying that, I keep saying, and I've said to anybody, when somebody says, "Oh, this is the way," I'm always like, "No, there's many ways."
Yeah.
What resonates for you.
Yeah.
What makes, and for me, that was nature. Nature was my time in nature, especially because when COVID happened, we kept going outside. I put portables outside the houses, and it was like all the clients were so excited to see us.
Right.
Here because they're at home by themselves, right?
Right.
Never locked down, so to speak. I was out and about, and we were just outside, or I was in the woods and hanging out in nature. And for me, that was really, really important for me. And it always has been, because nature always nurtures. If you're willing to observe and listen. And I think that was the other ticket for me, because when you become such an observer that you expand and you can see so much more, you see things in the trees, you see things in the stumps, right? Like you start to see faces and different, beings, so to speak. When we were down in Mexico, for example, all the palm trees completely looked like indigenous dressed up for ceremony with big headdresses on. So this is how you start to perceive everything, and it becomes quite different. And I believe that as well, as you're going to a new place and you're exploring, you're always expanding your consciousness, because you're creating, you're not consuming, you're filled with wonderment.
The interesting thing is, like, I totally, so I was so bought into that system of TM, of basically one path, one way, and the ultimate way, and and there's it's beautiful. There's a lot of wisdom there. There's it's fantastic, and for some people that is the way in this lifetime, in the lifetime that they're in. So this is how, but what it's not factoring in is that, like you said, it's basically life is, what is life? It's diversity.
Yes.
It's like it's branching out and branching out and branching out so viewpoints and viewpoints and viewpoints and viewpoints and viewpoints and viewpoints, and it's like that story, like I love it, like of a 7 blind men and an elephant.
I don't know that story.
I think it comes from like the the India, from that tradition. So it's like let's say like a king or whatever, like a shah, like had an elephant, and somehow, so he has basically, so there's 7 men. It's like, describe what you, and they were blind. Describe what it is, right? And so like one person, grab an elephant by trunk. So it's like, oh, so this, what this is like, it's this, and then so it's like it's a light. That's what it is, right? So it's like it's a hologram, first of all, right? So it's like every part contains it all, and it's unique. And the point of it all is not from like mine or Tanya's or anyone's perspective, but from life's perspective, is like the totality of it. That's really the point. And so honoring that is basically a way to. It's an evolutionary step, like honoring that fully, as opposed to being bought into the old system of control and domination, like one way, like our way, is
Yeah.
the way, and
Yeah.
we know the truth and we hold it. I mean, you hold a piece of truth, you know,
Yes.
like what you hold, like so one doesn't negate the other, right? Life is about paradoxes. It's this and that. So
Right?
the key thing is like what I like is like, you know, it's not, you know, it's like say someone says blah 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 and but, and then what's after but is the important thing, right? So the but, I say that and, so you replace but with and, so
Yeah.
this and also this.
Yeah.
And that's a more accurate representation of like what, and even with, we'll never be able to like it's like it's so complex, right? Like, and that's the beauty of it, the complexity, embracing the complexity, not simplicity of one answer or one kind of viewpoint.
Right.
It's like, it's an adolescent, what I've learned through my kind of like, so there's a very interesting perspective, and I can say that if it's a good place, you tell me if it's a, you know, yeah.
Go for it.
So the evolution of human consciousness, which is very, very interesting, right? It's like there's like a natural sort of like progression of it, and then it takes you to a certain point, and past certain point, it's about conscious evolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's about human consciousness being endowed with this ability to choose for itself, to make conscious choices, and to, from within the system, become, so it's like evolve.
Yes.
To this, right? So and it starts with an infant ego,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's the egos, and it's mostly what it is. It's an ego, you know. They're self-centered. They, you know, it's like life revolves around me. That's because that's all they know, right? The memory is wiped out, and so they come in, and like my world is this. Then there's an adolescent ego, right? And then the adolescent ego is like, it's about not self-centered but self-important. So my way, I know there's other ways, but my way is the way. My feelings matter. My, you know, yeah, I know you have your, you know, your opinion, but my opinion is the one that matters.
Yeah.
And so one way to look at it is like, this is like these systems, like these religions and like all that stuff. It's essentially an adolescent way of like perceiving reality, as in like my way is the way. I know there are other ways and there's value in that, but this is, you know, this is the it. So
yeah, absolutely. And Chris is just sharing, there's a garden I pass every time I go to work, and the feeling I get from the flowers is, we are going to dance. Absolutely. I go through and high five on all the trails. High five all my friends. Yeah, and when I do frequency toning outside, the birds respond to that quite well. Yeah, so I do my own toning, very similar. And Gary's just mentioning to you, keep it up, Roman. You're right where you're supposed to be. Yeah, that's the best part, right? You're right where you're supposed to be at this point in time. Yeah, and I wanted to add, when you were talking about, the consciousness and creating consciously and just allowing others to be wherever they are, because that's okay too. And you know, when you have friends and you're trying to share and they're not ready to hear, right? They're on their own path. They're doing their own thing based on their beliefs and combination of things. And they're just enjoying their life the way it is. So they don't want to change anything. And that's okay too. As long as they're enjoying life, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. And how's your relationship with your family now? Is your dad still with you?
completely changed. I changed it.
Yeah.
I could never imagine that it would be this way, with the way it is. I'll put it this way. Basically, the breakup between my parents was like nasty, right? And it was just like not friendly at all. And for a number of years, I hadn't talked to him like for like maybe 5-6 years at all. And then with, you know, like the for 10 years we were not, you know, it was just. And now he's the man who's encouraging me in my creative, you know, pursuits, and telling me that he believes in me, that I'm strong and I'm all this and I can make it. You know, it's like, what? Right. And it's like, I mean, I did it. I know what, how, and what, and why, and all that stuff, because it's like it was a conscious process of getting to. It's not like I didn't know it would be this, but like I know like what happened,
Right.
how it got here, like how I allowed, and then how I set the stage by healing myself first,
Yeah.
allowing myself to heal myself, and forgiveness is a huge part of it and all that. And then when there was a moment, the moment presented itself for him to step in, I allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
Also consciously. And then it kind of one lead led to another, where we now have a relationship, like a normal relationship, like a father and a son who's supportive, sharing, like vulnerable, find so many common things. Like there's so many similarities. It's insane. Like as far as like, life, like how life, like, parents and children, there's these patterns, right?
Yeah.
And how they repeat themselves. And unless you like open up and have these like vulnerable kind of like, can create a vulnerable space, it's sort of like, it's not like children repeat their parents, like, patterns, unless they know them and they, do something to change that, basically, right? And so
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's this good, it's an important. This was one of the first steps. So it's like healing, your relationship with yourself, and then you heal your relationship with your, so like, relationship with your family, let's say, or whatever. It was important for me. For other people, it might be relationship with maybe work, maybe something like career related first, right? It really depends, but yeah.
I always say whatever triggers you is it's a gift, because it's showing you what you can sit with and work on for self, because I can't control how others react. I can only control my reaction, right? You can't control how others behave and do, but you can control how you respond. So that was always, and for the longest time, of course, it was my ex who actually worked for me too. And I'd be like, oh, he got me again. Okay, what do I need to work on? Right. So
Right.
accepting that is like, okay. And it got to a point where I'd be like, you know what? I just can't talk anymore. I gotta go. I gotta go. I'll call you back. Just so that
Right.
I could shift myself from it, because those that know you well have this really good ability to press buttons. And family can be like that too. They installed the buttons, and then of course they know how to play it.
Exactly. To their advantage.
Right?
That's the point. That's the whole point for them to do all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah,
But it's up to you not to play that game. That's what it's about. It's like,
exactly.
I'm sorry. No,
Yeah,
thank you, but no, thank you.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I've just been enjoying the freedom and playfulness right now, to really just play full out. And what can I control? What can I do? And what can I do for self and for those around me to make life more enjoyable? Right. And I'd be the biggest goof sometimes to make other people laugh, because it shifts the energy. I can feel the whole energy shift, and I'll do something silly, and then I get everyone laughing and everyone's in a better mood. And it was like, oh, good. Right. Just what do you need to do to create different energies even around you? So yeah, there's some pretty somber things that go on in some of the families, of even the families that are here. And I'll be the first to like, oh, and aren't you grateful for this? So I try and get them to think about, oh, but this is so good, right? Even though this is a challenge, this is so good.
Yeah. But like what I noticed from my experience, and it's like it's so apparent once you kind of start seeing certain things, right? And it's one of so there are many powers that we have, right? And everyone has their own kind of set, right? That's more, everyone has everything, but certain abilities are more clearly shown in certain people, let's say. But all of us have this ability of our resonance really is
Yeah.
the biggest impact. So
Hmm.
sometimes it's not about saying anything. It's not about acting, doing. It's like really just being there in the space, being open to hold the space
Yep.
for whatever. It's not just detail. It's not necessarily even for that person holding this. It's just hold the space that you're in, and that person is in that space. So, and your resonance is what shifts it.
Yep.
And that's it. And I mean, obviously, sometimes it's important to say things and like, kind of, there's place and time for that. And, but like quite often it's just like, just you being there and allowing that person to grieve, to express that
Absolutely.
which, right. And it's like, it's an open, it's like, it's because it's energy, right? It's that energy that is, let's say, I like to say it's not negative, it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant, it's like it's heavy, let's say, right? So it's like, but it needs to release, it needs to lift. And how it speaking is one way of
Yes.
allowing it to lift. Connecting with nature is another. Exercising is another, whatever, right? But it needs to lift. And so, but sometimes all it is just sitting there and allowing them do their own thing, and that thing lifts. And that's kind of,
Absolutely.
it's magical how it happens. Just you do nothing, you just be there. and
that is part of the container. So whenever we host an event, it's always been the same thing, whether it be microdosing or sound bowl. As soon as somebody feels comfortable, they will express and let it go, or they'll share something in a different way, or right, so you can hear it differently. But all you're really doing is, you're right, you're holding a safe space for them to express, which is the throat chakra. And once they express it, it's like, they can just relax a little more.
And what happens is, one of the key needs of people is to be understood.
Yeah.
This is one of the foundational. Everybody wants to belong and wants to be understood. And when this happens, what happens is, when the people are able to be themselves and open up and just, allow whatever what wants to come out, what's created is intimacy. And intimacy is just one step away from love. It's an expression of love, right? And intimacy is about belonging, and being vulnerable and all that stuff. It's intimacy. And so, and intimacy is not something you do, you don't do intimacy, you allow it, you created perhaps a space for it, and so, yeah, like you said, like, these retreats, and right. And so it's like people, like open up, and then they become, and you connect with them. What's the connection? It's love.
Yeah.
And the opposite of love is disconnection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So anyways,
and there's a beautiful thing too, when you're with people in space, your hearts will click, right? And when somebody feels heard, right, they'll open up more, their heart will expand more, and then therefore they're creating even more positivity within the environment, and allows somebody else to express and open, and somebody else. And so that's always been, it's funny because I've been to many plant medicine retreats, and somebody's always doing healing work on you, and I'm like, no, just no. Whatever somebody is experiencing, it's for them to experience, because what they're experiencing, they're creating anyway. And then to express afterwards if there's something they'd like to unpack or integrate. But there's I've done quantum and Reiki, and yeah, you can hold space and you can send love to everyone, but I'm not a big fan of no longer working on people while they're in a journey. But we're holding the space for them so that they may go through their experience in a loving environment. Yeah.
Is it interesting? So what you said, just want to understand a little bit better what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's okay if you wanna do that, yeah. So it's like, are you talking about doing something for people because you think it's the right thing to do, but you're not really asking their permission? Is that what you're speaking of?
No, it is the permission is asked. Oh, we'll do healing while you're under the influence.
So right. Being on a trip, such. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right. Whereas I'm like, no, I'm holding the space.
Right.
And yeah.
Oh, that's like a very unique type of experience. Yeah. It's tricky, very tricky, right?
Yes.
Could be.
It's a good dance per se. But anyway, and it's funny because I recently was on another when we were on here a couple of weeks ago, and V and I were talking, and we were talking about, I said, I'm done with plant medicine. I don't need it's finished for me. And it's an interesting space to be in. It's not to say I won't dabble here and there, but I don't it's like that's a whole nother, people go on this healing journey and it's like another hamster wheel. Then they go on the shadow work journey and that's another they go on plant medicine journey. So
it's interesting. Like, so this is a very important thing, because it's like you come into a point where you realize that what helped me before isn't serving me anymore. There's no point. I mean, I can do it, but it's not adding anything, right? It's sort of like becoming like, what's the right?
Yeah.
So that's a shift, and I can totally relate. Like, I mean, it's like you come to a point where it's like the drug, like the plant medicine, let's say, right? It's let's call it, it's not drug, it's plant medicine. It's a better way. It's, I didn't use a proper right way of talking about it, but because it's a sacred thing, really. It's a sacred thing. It's like, it's not about people using it in raves, which a lot of people do stupidly, but it's a sacred thing. It's something that enables you to get a taste.
Yeah.
What basically shift your, it's a beautiful, it's amazing, but it's a crutch. At the end of the day, it can
be a crutch. Yes,
it is a crutch. My kind of like, I would be a little bit more like, it is like, because the goal is like, it's all of this stuff you can generate. Like, it's all about, you need to do whatever you need to get to a point where you're like, I feel complete, a whole enough to, like move in, the training wheels come off, and I can like bicycle, on my own. Yeah. Thank you very much. I don't need the, I may use it sometimes for an experience, right? There's nothing wrong with that. No judgment whatsoever. It's just like, it's not we are like, we're all of it, right? We don't need anything. Like, we just gotta get to a point where we realize that, and then it's like, it's liberating, very, very liberating.
Well, but it's also an opening to realizing there's so much more than you, so it can get you out of your own way, right? And so for many people that have monkey mind or super busy, this can help them to
absolutely
see things differently. And so it has a beautiful purpose, and it's been around forever. It's just
forever,
just something that one doesn't need to go on and perpetuate, in my opinion. And that's for me. So, and some people, like I said, and one of the reasons why is because every time when I was younger and I would do any sort of drug, I'm like, sure, I'll try it. Yeah. And then somebody would sidle up beside me and go, "Are you a narc?" I'm like, "No." Why? Why would you say that to me? Because you're just totally with it. Like, right, you can still speak and you can still think, and everyone else is like out of it in here, but you're very cohesive. And I was like, it's because I'm not supposed to be doing any of this stuff. Now I know, right? Like, no, you can try whatever you want. It's not going to work for you.
No, but but you're doing it to explore, not to numb yourself.
No, exactly.
You see, like, drugs, what are they for? They're to numb, like, the all kinds of internal, unhappiness and whatever.
Avoidance of self. Yeah, people sometimes avoid themselves, and that is one way to avoid yourself. You still working there, Roman? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It got serious for a second.
No.
Yeah.
I'm the least serious person. What am I serious about? I can laugh at just about anything. Yeah. It's certainly been
no, but
fun.
Yeah, I have to say, you can be quite serious.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're where you are right now is just reminding you all the how much you've traversed to be where, because it's true, what you're saying is true, but I know the other side. I remember the other side of Tanja, which, like, it's like part of, everybody has, kind of like, can be in a moment where it's like not always fun, not always, but you are where you are right now, and it's just a reminder how much ground you've covered. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anything, I mean, running a business and having responsibilities, yes, it can be very serious.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. And even now, right? There's a fellow who, when you work with a client, a painting client, and I knew when I got in there, and after he'd hired us, I went, "Oh, okay, I see you." I could see him. I didn't meet him when I first went out there. Anyways, as it turns out, we ended up not getting along very well at the end of the day, and he decided not to pay. Even though we did the work, even though we did the extras, he was happy not to pay, and I was like, "Ah." Then you get to that point as a business owner to get a little serious, and do I take him to court? Is that worth my time? And
Right.
I chose not to, because the amount of effort, and I went, "You know what? People that respond and react that way to others, that always comes back towards them. So I'm just gonna do my part and walk away from this and let it be." And there you go. It's done. Yeah. Because I've been through the court system once, and it was like, you know what? This is way more draining than it's even worth. So yeah. So you choose. Do I choose my better health and wellness? And to me, money's just energy anyway, right? It always comes back around. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what's next, Roman? And how old's your son now?
He's 2 years and 4 months.
Woohoo.
He's feels like he's already 5
Yes.
in so many ways, or whatever, he's amazing, and I so much enjoy focusing on him, and and sort of like fatherhood has been a blessing for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And what's next? Next phase of, so healing relationship with yourself is one thing, healing the relationship with significant, like your family and whatever. Now it's about me stepping into my creativity, like in the real way, not like me dabbling, like, which is what I've done up until now, but really kind of overcome, like sort of learning from and growing past certain fears, certain misconceptions and whatnot, and just becoming that creative, the creator
Yeah.
that I deep down know myself to be, and I just need to let the world express it, and let the world know that which I know myself to be. So
Yeah. And are we talking artistically again? Like doing
yeah, I'm
art?
gonna sorry, it was a very big answer. Basically it's I'm shifting to, I'm looking for ways to create awareness around what I do. Basically put myself out there, and all kinds of, like, in all kinds of ways, and just start attracting like ideal clients. Essentially, here's what I do, here's how I look at things, here's what I offer, just not hiding, just talking about it, and then see like how, and basically receiving people who this might resonate with, and just having fun with it, building financial prosperity and abundance for me and my family, and just enjoying life. So that's basically the next chapter.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I look forward to seeing what you create. And yes, Gary's right. Your child become your greatest teacher. Yeah.
Yes.
Already has.
Oh yeah, it taught me so much already.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's beautiful is
Mhm.
I believe everything is a reflection for us to learn from and explore. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I look forward to having you back again to see where your adventures take you.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. And in the meantime, yeah, if anybody wants to reach out to Roman, I can put his let me put it in here so we can share it. What's the website? MUZE.
Oh, it's Studio Muse
Yes.
.ca. Muse spelled with a Z. Studio
Yeah.
Muse.
Pop that in so everyone can see.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong one.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely. And as I said, I may have a small job for you next week if you're available.
Oh wow! Yes, yes,
Good one
yes.
starting
Let's
on
talk.
the
Let's talk.
17th. All right. Well, that's a good way to end it. Hey.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
The next one was yours. All right.
Yeah.
I'm wishing you a very beautiful evening. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for bringing me
Yeah.
on. I mean, it's honestly a joy, and it's I love you, you know, and
You too.
wishing. I mean, we'll talk soon, so you know,
We
but
will.
I'm wishing everybody who I don't see like how many who join, whatever, but
That's okay.
whoever's here, just sending you love, and everybody's going through their own thing, but you know, just stay positive. You know, it's life is about love and beauty and all that, and if we hit a rough patch, it's temporary, you know. So that's my quick five message for people. Sending you lots of love.
Absolutely. All right, you guys have a beautiful evening. Thank you.